We will do the Pledge of Allegiance, and for those who are new to this meeting, what we're going to do is make sure everyone is muted. So if everybody can mute, I will be the only one to recite it. So you can all stand and join me though. So if you want to stand and join me, I will start it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to sit myself down here as well. Okay, so we can just pull the agenda up. Awesome. Let me get that out of my screen. Opening announcements is first. So Denise, whenever you're ready.
Yes, so same announcements as last time. We have the CNET. This is being recorded live. You can watch it on their YouTube channel, and there will also be a link that will be sent out to everybody who registered after the meeting. We're still asking for email addresses for residents. We've switched email providers, and when doing that, we've lost our distribution list. So we're asking that if you've signed up for notifications in the past, that you go back onto our website and click the Contact Us button. We're also still looking for volunteers for vacancies on various boards and commissions. You can contact me if you're interested. Also, we have set days for Riff Raff Days. They will be held on Friday, May 21st from 8 to 4 and Saturday, May 22nd from 8 until 3. Again, we ask that residents wear a mask and be respectful and responsible about dropping things off. Everybody was great last year. We're just asking for the same kind of considerations this year. The Center Region is offering a survey for the development of a climate action and adaptation sustainability plan. The survey can be found at the link there and is open to residents until the 30th. There will be a forum on it on April 13th from 6 to 8, and you can sign up at that link for more information.
Perfect. Okay, next up, we will have citizens' comments on any items that are not already on the agenda. Do we have any comments? And none were received ahead of time, Denise, I'm assuming?
No, nothing was received ahead of time.
Great. We'll move along to the approval of the agenda for this evening. So hopefully all the board members have had a chance to take a look at it. And I think the only thing that we were going to do, if I'm not mistaken, is under new business, rearrange the order of a couple items. So if you could scroll down there real quick. So if we could, A and B, which are two reports, things that we need to do, to move to the end of that list. Mr. Stover is here to join us this evening, and we want to hit any of the items that he may need to, or we need to ask him any questions about. We'll hit those first so that he can leave the meeting if he would like. So that's the only thing that I was going to suggest to change on the agenda, is moving new business A and B to the end of the list.
I'd also like to request an executive session to discuss a personnel issue at the end of the regular meeting with action to be taken.
Okay. So those are two edits to the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda with those edits, and we can start discussion?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda with those two edits.
Is there a second?
Second.
You. Is there any discussion about that?
No.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Chuck, we need a aye from you as well.
Aye, two.
Thanks, Chuck. All right. So we have the approval of the agenda. Then first up is the subdivision land development plans. And I don't see Lauren here. Is he not here this evening?
I don't see Lauren here.
He is here. I'm here next to Virginia, so.
Oh, you are.
I'm available for comment if needed.
Thank you, Lauren.
Sure thing.
Maybe you should change the name to Virginia and Lauren so we know who's this is the problem with Zoom these days. We don't. Oh, there you are. Hello.
I'd actually like to introduce Jamie Wasson. He is from Hawbaker Engineering, and he can begin by presenting the plan, and then we can go to comments.
Perfect.
Hi. This is a
minor subdivision lot addition plan for the Hallbaker property off of Hard Rock Lane in Port Matilda. The purpose of the plan is to subdivide 11.2 acres off the Hallbaker property and add it to the Patrick and Jennifer Hallbaker property. It would include the metal building. That's the whole purpose of it, just so the metal building is part of his property then.
Okay.
And there's nothing else is going to be added to the property or anything like that at this time.
And would you do me a favor, Denise, and pull up the plan there on the screen?
See, I have, are you not able, let me,
It's on a different screen, probably.
yep, sorry.
That's okay. Perfect.
Now? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I looked through the notes. Does anyone have any questions? And I know Lauren and the Planning Commission provided a little memo with a recommendation to go ahead and approve. Does anyone have any questions for Mr.
So,
Watt?
I got a question.
Mhm.
Want to know if we're doing this under a Form B waiver or we're doing sewage planning or what we doing on it?
I can actually answer that, Dave. This is Corey, the planner. They completed a
Yeah.
component 1 sewage planning module that is in good shape. And the only issue that we have is it needs to go because part of the parent tract is in Worth Township and the Port Matilda Borough. It's going to need to go to them for approval as well. Or
Well,
waiver.
that was going to be my next question.
Still has to go there, as well as the plan itself will have to go there for action or waiver of their planning rights. But other than that, the only comment that staff had for this was we need, Jamie, you're going to need to add to the project narrative in the sewage planning module and the project narrative on the plan itself you're going to have to include Port Matilda Borough in that as well.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Andworth? Corey? Is it Andworth Township?
Yes, I'm sorry. Worth's already included in the narrative.
Oh.
Yep.
Any other questions about the plan?
Well, just for clarification's sake, this isn't for any kind of actual, like brick and mortar development or anything like that. This is more of an administrative changing of hands of the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Lauren, do you want to go over the Planning Commission's recommendations?
Go.
There was one issue.
Go ahead.
In terms of the fire
Yes.
or, yeah, the township and the planning commission had made the recommendation that they put a 4,000 gallon water storage tank in because the nearest water resource was somewhere around 3,000 feet away from the buildings. There's a pre-existing building on the lot that is or the ground that's being added to the original lot. It's something that the township cannot require them to do, but the fire department and the planning commission made the recommendation to provide some type of water for fire protection. Other than that, we didn't see anything other than that it's a lot addition to an existing lot with a home on it.
So if nobody else has any questions, we can entertain a motion to, now this is a approval from us, a final approval? Help me out here, because we have the other two townships to still, is it a conditional approval?
Yes.
Yes.
So I actually threw in the chat box a possible motion.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, yeah, so the first thing you'd have to do is act upon the sewage planning module. There's a resolution, it would be 2021-11. And our planning module is not contingent upon the other municipalities' planning module. So we can approve our planning module, and then the plan can be approved contingent upon DEP's approval of the planning module, and then receipt of either the waiver of the review rights from Worth Township and Port Matilda Borough, or if they would like to review their plan, then adding those signature blocks on our plan and getting their signatures as well.
Okay, so we have two motions.
Okay, I'll do the first one. I move to approve the component one sewage planning module resolution 2021-11 for the Howell Baker final minor subdivision and lot addition, plan number 2021-01.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, awesome. Second motion.
What is the plan name and number?
It is the final minor subdivision and lot addition plan for the Hall Baker, you can call it the Hall Baker final minor subdivision, and the plan number is 2021-01.
So moved.
Do you want me to read? I'll try and, do you want me to read it or are we okay?
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
No, I'm sorry. I can read it. I thought that had us covered. So, but I moved that we approve the plan name and number as previously stated by Denise, contingent upon approval of the DEP component one sewage planning module and the contingent upon the approval waiver of plan review procedures for both Worth Township and Port Matilda Borough.
Excellent.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect. All right, excellent. Moving along.
Jamie will be in, I'm sorry, Danelle.
No, you
Jamie
go ahead. I was going to say thank you to everyone. Go ahead.
We'll be in touch, Jamie, if you need anything.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Excellent. All right. And is Lauren gone? Oh, no, that's right there. Sorry, I'm not seeing. Thank you, Lauren, for the report as well. Okay, we are up next is the approval of the minutes from our February 17th joint Planning Commission and Board of Supervisor meeting. So we'll do that one first. We have to have two different motions here.
I move that we approve the joint planning commission board of Supervisors meeting minutes from February 17th, 2021.
Is there a second? I think, Patty, you're going to have to do it because I think Chuck and Dave were not in attendance, right? So I don't think.
No, not for that one.
That is correct.
I will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then we have the
I'll
February.
abstain.
Thank you, Dave. We have the February 25th, 2021 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
I'll move that we approve the regular Board of Supervisors meeting minutes from February 25th, 2021.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. I think we lost Dave.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Well, those passed, so we'll move along. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. So this is mostly our bills list for February 20th through March 5th. If we have an item that we want to talk about, we have to pull that out of this and we will have to vote on each item individually. If we don't have any questions about these items specifically, we can approve the consent agenda as is.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as is.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor of ratifying these payments?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right, great. Old business, property maintenance code, still old business.
Yes, actually, we've kind of put a little bit of a delay on it and haven't prioritized it since there is an update coming at the end of this year.
No worries. We'll get to it. Okay, new business. So we moved A and B. So our first item on this agenda for new business is the streetlight tax ordinance. So there is a memo and hopefully we've all had a chance to take a peek at that beforehand. Do you want to hit the highlights, Denise?
Yes, that's probably the easier way to go about this.
Yes.
So in the short version of this is in 1991, I believe it was, or 1990, a bunch of residents along the Stormstown neighborhood right on 550 petitioned the board and said they would like to have a street lights put up. And in order to do that, 70% of the people came and the township put up the street lights, and then it became a streetlight district, and they get taxed based off of the road frontage that that they have along 550. I believe Dave is calling me right now.
Okay.
Yes, he just, okay. So Dave has, I believe, rejoined us at this point.
Hi, Dave. Okay.
The assessment for this was last done in 1994, and there's about 45 parcels in the assessment. Every year, what's supposed to happen is the previous year's bill gets divided amongst these properties based off of this road frontage. We took a look at this. We had a resident call in and ask why he was paying a certain amount when he no longer owned a property along 550. So we took a look and we found there's a couple of different properties that have either been subdivided or consolidated along the years that are either paying or not paying the streetlight tax based off of those revisions. For an example, there is a parcel that is not in the original ordinance, and the house has been there since 1967. So that parcel has never paid the tax, but is in that district. So they should be paying it. Another one we found was one property is paying for another property that was not listed as well, and it changed ownership in 2017. In 2004, a lot line was moved amongst properties, and those percentages were never changed. We also found that there was 2 lots that were combined or consolidated. Those 2 road frontages should have been added together, and that's what the tax should be, but only one of those is paying, or they're only being charged for the one portion of that parcel. And then since the mid 1990s, one particular property has been subdivided a few times. And
oh, Denise, just so basically the gist is there's been a lot of changes and we haven't reassessed.
yes.
Okay.
And so what we're looking at is we need to go and kind of redo these parcels, make sure that that district is being taxed fairly. And we contacted the engineer to find out what it would cost to do basically a review of that and make sure that the parcels are correct. And it would be about $850 to do this. And we would like to have staff start working on drafting a revision to the ordinance so that it doesn't, if there's future subdivisions or if there's lot consolidations, it just says this is the district size and it will be based off of road frontage rather than having to pass a new resolution all the time.
And so my question around this was is in the ordinance, I think I read that it says that there's an annual assessment done. So is that what you're talking about, trying to change that language?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're supposed to take the previous year's bill and divide it amongst the properties that are listed. But again, the parcel numbers change based off of consolidations or subdivisions.
And so I guess what would trigger us to have things reassessed if needed? How often would we need to do this assessment at all, if at all? Am I making sense what I'm asking?
As far as how often do we need to keep reviewing
how often would we have to pay $850 to an engineer when we're gaining $1,200 in taxes to pay for the streetlights?
I would say that anytime a subdivision or lot consolidation happens, it should be changed and noted, of course, in the district. But like I said, this hasn't been reevaluated since 1994. So it's been quite some years. I would think moving forward that any of those changes would be completed at the time that we receive that subdivision or consolidation.
I think, let me ask a clarification question there. What you're saying, Denise, is we would not have to every 3 or 4 years spend $800 again having this thing reassessed. If we, as long as we stay on top of it, this is the only time we're going to incur this big expense.
Yes.
You're going to try to make it part of the process of subdivision, but this is
Which
taken
it should
care
have been
of.
from the
And then
beginning.
we don't have to do that yearly assessment either, because it's just part of the process.
The yearly, when I say the yearly assessment, what I mean by that is whatever the
how much
tax
they
bill
owe.
was, right? Whatever the bill was for the lights
Got it.
gets, that gets divided amongst the property owners based off of the road frontage. This is basically the engineer going back from 1994, making sure that everything is correct in that district and everybody's road frontage is correct.
Got it.
So it's kind of a field review of everything if it's needed to happen.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Being that I'm the one that did it the last time in 1994, the frontage was done based on the tax map assessment for front footage, which is where those numbers originally came from. I am, and Denise, I know we talked about this earlier today, but I am highly, highly, highly reluctant to spend $900. Much as I like Don Franson, I don't want to spend any money on any of this stuff for a lousy $1,200 assessment. I would rather, if somebody's being taxed unfairly, the township just turn the money back to them and then get it figured out another year when we know we have good revenue coming through.
That was a
Because
little
it's
bit of a
basically
reason.
inconsequential, because nobody owns more than $50 worth anywhere out there that would be changed one way or the other.
But I think,
So, and all you got to do is sit down. You can either use a tax map or you can pull the deeds, which Amy can now do in the office, and we can pull the distances off the front of the deed descriptions. And the, you know, for the older lots, they're all 66 feet wide. You know, the lot I used to have is 100 feet wide because it's a lot and a half. It's actually 99, but you know, it's not that hard to do. And I hate to spend the money on something that number one, it doesn't really gain us anything. You know, it's just, like I say, it's not a good year. We just raised taxes on everybody in the township. And, you know, for $100 or whatever it is, if we had to eat it, we had to eat it. We can figure it out later. I told Denise I would go in the office and do it for nothing.
That's a little bit of the reason I was asking the question, Dave, about the spending $850 for $1,200. So I guess the thing could be, is there a way to kind of assess how much would we be eating? And like, is Dave saying it's $100 or something like that? I would rather kind of do that as well rather than spend $850. But I'll let you share if for some reason we shouldn't do that.
I'm concerned with doing things that way. Now that we've acknowledged that it's being done incorrectly, I fear that we might be opening ourselves to legal jeopardy as far as incorrect taxing of residents. I mean, I know it's $800, but at the same time, you know, it's we have to be careful with what we do. Once we recognize there's a problem and we just, you know, admitted to that problem in a public forum, it needs to get corrected.
Well,
So-
it needs to be corrected, but we don't have to pay the engineer $900 to do it. All we got to do is pull up the deeds and just reassess the numbers. You know, nobody's lots really changed except for maybe the 3 that Denise mentioned. And it's easy to check, and we can send out amended forms or whatever we got to do. Not a big deal. Like I say, most of them lots have been the same since the 1812 plan was filed. So it's not going to change a whole lot.
Dave, I'm gonna mute you, Dave, if you just want to unmute when you're ready to talk because you're clicking.
The phone is making a clicking noise for us for some reason. There we go. Okay.
So the annual bill is about just over $1,000, and the township collects about $1,200 in the taxes. We do have somebody that contacted the township that wanted to be exonerated for this because of the change in the lot lines. Now, we can't exonerate a special tax levy. What we can do for this specific individual is we can have that person still pay the tax, and then the board can authorize that we refund the money, because it will change whether he's going to be paying in discount or in penalty. And so whatever that amount is, it's likely that he'll pay in discount, but the board can authorize that that payment get returned to him based off the fact that this was not updated, and he'll be paying this year for property that he doesn't own.
So since Mr. Stover is here, I'm going to ask for his opinion on this as well. Just hearing the couple comments that we have made, is there a direction that you would recommend that we go in?
Well, I think if somebody is raising the issue that they're not being assessed fairly, we're going to have to address that. I don't think we have to necessarily reassess all the lots to do that. There's no legal requirement that you do so in any certain period of time. But I do think in one fashion or another, you're going to have to address the issue that a property owner has brought forward.
So Dave's suggestion of trying to address that person's individually, possibly if we can without the engineer, is that doable? And I guess I'm going to ask Denise that question directly. And then if Jeff, you have a comment too.
Staff put together using the Webbia, staff put together a nice little chart with what we believe Webbia shows as far as road frontage. Now they're not always correct, and that's what we've found out. There's some lag or some issues there. So we can do this reassessment of this based off of what's on Webbia. It's already done by staff, and use that going forward. And anybody that has any issues or concerns about it can come and do exactly what this gentleman did at Mary Jane Lane, and said, you know, this, I don't believe that this is correct. Let's look into this. And then again, anything that comes out from the tax bill can't be exonerated as a special tax levy, but the board can always go back and refund it.
So that would potentially be on a future agenda item then, right?
We can technically do that
now.
It just will be whatever he pays. It's the property owner is Richard Graham. He's at Mary Jane Lane. And it's just over $80 right now that he would be refunded, but the board can choose to motion to refund whatever his payment for the streetlight tax would be.
Denise, I think the reason why he's being assessed $80 is because he's still being slammed for the farmhouse across the road, which
That's
is
correct.
not his.
That's correct.
Well, since he sold it, he should have been taken off the rolls. And I know that wasn't your regime back then, but somebody should have noticed, I guess.
Okay, so I'm guessing that we're trying to, with the complete reassessment, just make sure that there aren't any other issues. And that's what I'm sure staff is trying to set up. So it's sort of up to us. Do we want to just address this one issue right now with the refund, or do we want to go ahead and have the engineer do the full assessment?
Well, Danelle, can't we just take care of the refund that we owe, and then the ones that we know are a problem, like the ones Denise listed, can't maybe staff with Dave's help look at those, get those corrected, and then like Denise said, see how we are going. And then if down the road it turns out that we do have to have an engineer do it, then but let's try based on budget constraints to do it ourselves at this point, but correct as many of them as we know there are an issue. Is that feasible?
Yeah, we can do that. We'll still have to update the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that all of the rather than listing each of the parcels, having a almost like a coordinates or lot lines boundaries. So that might even prevent us, if there are issues with subdivisions or anything in the future, not having to pass another ordinance if we just say that from this boundary to this boundary, rather than just listing out parcel numbers. That might be a helpful way to do it, but we will have to go through the process of advertising the ordinance and public comment, and then a hearing as well.
And we'd have to do that either way, right? Whether we had the
Yes.
engineer or not, yeah.
So I like Patty's idea. It's kind of including all of the different things I think that we're talking about. So would the motion be that we task staff with whoever's help you need to address the known issue properties related to the streetlight tax?
And update the ordinance. Is that what
And
you said?
update the ordinance.
Yes, I don't believe we'd need a motion on that. What we would need a motion on is whether or not you'd like to refund Richard Graham's streetlight tax for this year.
Do we have any other folks that we're aware of who have overpaid?
We
I mean, I
have
know
some,
you went down that list a little while ago. I'm not sure if they overpaid, underpaid, what.
there's both. There's people who have overpaid, there's people who have underpaid, and there's people that have never paid. So actually all three.
Just
And what-
concerned that we're going to open up a can of worms where we're going to be refunding a whole bunch of people a whole bunch of money this
No, I
year.
don't think that's going to be the case, but I think we should refund any of the ones that we are aware of. And we can't do anything about the ones that underpaid or haven't paid. That's just the way it is.
Dave, did you unmute to talk, Dave?
Well, I just want to say I make a motion, we give Richard Graham back his money for last year and we get the thing figured out.
I'll second.
Okay, great. There is a second to refund Mr. Graham his streetlight tax. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. That one passes, and then you can continue working on the ordinance for that as well.
That, I think we can even bring that back to at the next board meeting.
Oh, great.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah, that shouldn't be too difficult.
great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, oh, I lost my agenda too. Hold on. Here we go.
Sorry.
No,
Working
that's
on it.
okay. I always try to have it up on my screen too, because I know you have to do things. Here we go. Request
Back
for
to you.
advisory opinion. I'm trying to not do paper.
I know, but it makes life a lot easier.
Sustainability. Request for advisory opinion from the State Ethics Commission on Open Space Preservation Board's statement of financial interest filings. How about that for a mouthful?
What does that mean?
Yep. Go,
Okay.
go ahead.
So
Denise.
every year, the board, elected officials, even the solicitor has to fill out a statement of financial interest form from the State Ethics Commission. The form includes basically any gifts you've received, any real estate holdings or ownership in any type of company. And it's a form for sort of transparency that just kind of lists your debts as well. So they provide, this is a requirement, and it's due for the previous year in May of every year. So this year, the board has to file their reports by May 1st. Reminder, if you haven't already done it, for the 2020 year. I sent this out to all of the boards and commissions. We had somebody on the Open Space Preservation Board question as to why they would need to fill one out. Any board that is purely advisory in their capacity does not have to fill one out. So a lot of planning commissions do not, but you are able to impose a more strict rule about having people fill this out than the Ethics Commission. So if the board so chooses, they can say, we want everybody to fill one of these out for greater transparency. when looking over the Open Space Preservation Board's duties, I believe that it was more than just a purely advisory board. So I contacted the State Ethics Commission and they said, well, to get an advisory opinion, it's free, but it has to come from your solicitor. So I asked Jeff to send a letter to the State Ethics Commission, and they did, and said, okay, thank you for sending this letter, but it needs to come from your board of supervisors as a request. So in order to get that advisory opinion from them, we need proof of approval from the board of supervisors to have had Jeff send that letter for the advisory opinion as to whether or not an open space preservation board member needs to fill out statements of financial interest. So my request.
All right, let's stop beating the horse here, and I move that we have authorized Jeff Stover to send a letter to the board so we can get this done.
Love it, Dave. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Awesome. Go ahead, Jeff. You can send that letter now.
Thank
Again.
you.
Resend.
Resend.
Great.
Jeff, I assume you'll take care of that.
Yeah, they may want a copy of the minutes, so
Try and get
something,
those done as quickly as possible.
yeah, so that we
can
can
do that.
show that the authorization came from the board.
Fabulous. Okay. We will move along to the next item, which is permission to advertise draft parkland dedication. And I will ask this, I'm just trying to be cognizant of Jeff's time. Was that the only other item that we may need Jeff for, or do we need him?
After this discussion, he is
Okay,
Take it
just wanted to let
bounce.
you know so you can bag out when you want to after this, Jeff.
Thank you.
So permission to advertise draft parkland dedication ordinance 2021-01.
Yes.
So you ready to
Yep.
give the update, Denise?
Yes, I am. Let me
Yep.
share the beginning of this. Screen share. And there. Okay. So at the 2021 budget meetings, after that, staff started to try to come up with ways to decrease the amount of the park payments that are due over the next 10 years. We looked at doing possible refinancing of the loan, and I'm still looking into that option. I'm exploring something else, but it doesn't look like that's going to be viable because the fees and costs associated with it may not be cost effective enough to justify the refi. So then staff started evaluating the current parkland dedication ordinance and the fees associated with it. Corey, do you want to explain what our current ordinance is?
Sure. Our current parkland ordinance does not even come into effect until we have a 5-lot subdivision or greater. It has a very complicated equation for determining the fees associated, and it's very outdated, and it's actually never been utilized. So since this was enacted, I believe, Denise, is it 2009? This was started, and we haven't used it once since then. So for an example of cost, if you look at the Seifert property that we approved, or that you approved a few weeks ago, the fee for that would have been a $2,500 fee per dwelling unit, or he would have been required to dedicate 0.05 acres per dwelling unit. So Denise, do you want to then go through some of the new things that we thought to put into our new ordinance?
Yes. So when we looked at this, we thought about the new ordinance, having it go into effect for any new subdivision or land development, rather than waiting for that 5-lot subdivision. We also looked at dropping the fee to $1,000 per acre. So it's actually a lot lower. It's a higher incentive for people to pay the fee in lieu of. What I want to note is that the way that the MPC is laid out, it says that a municipality may not specifically require a fee in lieu of from a developer, but the board has the option to state its preference for it to developers. And that's something that, of course, it's a little bit more attractive. The only other things we added were a unity clause, a severability clause, and a repealer clause. One of the things we were looking at, I'm talking about how it's actually less expensive for developers. I'll kind of let Corey talk to you about a math equation he figured out today.
Sure. Actually, I did want to correct you on one thing, Denise, too. That's $1,000 per lot, not per acre.
I'm
fee. So
sorry.
it's actually, if they, we're not charging per acre, it'll just be a per lot fee.
And that's whether it's residential or commercial.
Yeah, I actually looked around at some of the pricing today for a vacant acre in Half Moon Township. And from what we could find out, it typically goes for about $70,000 per acre. So if you use the 0.05%, that goes to 5% of that, that would be $3,500 per acre. So our fee is only $1,000 per lot. So it's a very much reduced fee. So I'd be happy to try to answer any other questions if anybody has them.
Just quickly, you said, I don't know if it means the same thing or not, but I think in the draft ordinance, it says $1,000 per dwelling unit. Does that mean the same thing that you just said before?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, because I know we use different terms and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't change the method for calculating the land dedication. The only thing we really changed was the fee associated with the fee in lieu.
Okay.
So the idea is this can help with if the board, talks to developers and says we'd much rather have this, it can help possibly reduce some of the payments to the park based off of the fact that if I were a developer and it came down to giving you $3,500 of a lot that I could sell or just $1,000, it's a much more attractive option to just do the $1,000 fee.
And so we're taking out the 5-lot minimum. Can you run through a very quick scenario of someone who's just subdividing one? So they would pay $1,000 or the acreage.
Or they can dedicate the land. The land has to be suitable to the township. So you can't dedicate 0.05 of like stormwater facilities or a retention pond.
Right. I saw the criteria in there for the land. So good. Okay. I think my questions are answered. Does anyone? Yep, Dave.
How much ground would a 1-lot subdivision have to donate to qualify to avoid $1,000?
It would be 0.05 acres, which goes out to, let me get my math hat on for the night. It is 2,178 square feet.
So you'd create an illegal tot lot in a township if somebody just wanted to stick it to you.
We reached out to other municipalities inside and outside the region that have used an ordinance very similar to this with that exact concern, and they didn't seem to see that was an issue. Most of the developers ended up just donating the fee in lieu, but yeah, that could be a concern.
Well, most of the developers just want to get their plan approved. They don't want to fight with the township. But I don't like it because what we're doing is we're saying, well, we spent money on a park, but we're going to make you pay for it, even though somebody's going to move into that house. They're going to pay income tax. They're going to pay real estate tax at a much higher rate than the undeveloped ground. It's just a tax to me. So I'm not going to go for it because I don't think it's actually, I know it's legal, but it just seems like a scheme to get somebody else to pay for our park besides the people that put it in there.
Well, I'm kind of also looking at it as there was a method before. This isn't new.
Yeah, this is already in place.
Right. There's something already in place.
Yeah, but the current one doesn't hit anybody till they have five lots.
You're right.
So if you're Mr. Farmer and you take off 2 lots for your kids, they don't have to pay it. But now you're gonna make everybody pay. Is what you're saying. So it's
yeah. So this is
but the same thing can go on. Why don't we just assess $1,000 tax on all the existing parcels? I mean, that's what you're doing.
This would be only for
and you're
people
hitting a
who
developer,
subdivide.
but you're not hitting anybody. you're hitting anybody that moves in. You just drove the price of a lot up $1,000 or more.
Go ahead, Denise. This is for subdivisions.
Right, so this wouldn't be a tax to anybody. It would be anybody who chooses to subdivide. They would either have to currently, dedicate land or provide fee in lieu. We're just making the option much more attractive to provide the fee in lieu.
Not to mention, I don't even see if a developer did want to, quote, stick it to us and just donate the 0.05 acre. It's open space, yeah, it's not much, but it's land that's, the grass is going to grow and a tree's going to be in it, or multiple trees. And yeah, I don't see this as a bad thing, because yes, I know it's an additional $1,000 on the price of someone subdividing their lot and then to build a home on it. But at the same time, $1,000 in the grand scheme of things with that, it's the cost of doing business when you're trying to build a home. If you want to be part of the community, that's just how it is.
Staff talked about it today a little bit too, and the way our current ordinance sits, it's not 5 lots as in 1 lot this year, 1 lot next year. It has to be a 5-lot subdivision at the time. So we just, theoretically, somebody right now could subdivide 4 lots this year and then subdivide 4 lots next year, and they would be opting out of paying any of the fee in lieu or land dedication with our current ordinance.
Big giant loophole.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, so let me kind of back up to a larger, so part of our strategy is balance what we want to retain in the township, which is our rural feel, with whatever development is going to come. And I think part of that, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of reading this as this is a way to still have some open land, open parkland, whatever we want to call that, as additional development can happen. Is that kind of the purpose, what everyone's taking away from?
Yeah, or they're supporting other open land
Exactly.
in addition to the park.
So if we are questioning this particular method, I just want to make sure that we're also still thinking of what overall goal we're trying to do. And if there is some other way to accomplish that, do we want time to think about this and maybe think about other strategies? This is a strategy that seemed to come up that Denise and Corey put a lot of effort in looking at for us. But if we're uncomfortable with this particular method.
Well, here's the deal. I don't mind planning the parks, but I think parks have to be planned. I think you have to know where you want to put it. And the problem is when you got that little 0.5 acre, 0.05 acre, whatever it turns out to be, and sooner or later the people that are around it are going to say, well, we want a tot lot there. And then the township will spend another $500,000 fixing up tot lots around the township. I don't want to get in that situation. I think that if the parks are planned out, you have reasonable parcels out in the township, townships involved in the procurement process with the developers, that there's got to be a better way to do it than say, we're going to just put a fee out there or you give us land. And I know it's a long-standing thing, and it goes back a lot of years. This fee in lieu of stuff came up, and it came up clear back in the 90s. But, the developer's probably going to pay the $1,000, so, the township's generally going to have the money. But there's going to be instances show up where somebody's going to want to put a park in, and we're going to be stuck with a piece of ground, not going to have any equipment in it. And then the next thing you know, everybody's going to want to have, well, you know what the whirligig costs and everything else. You can have $40,000, $50,000 in equipment, $7,000 in rubber foam every year to keep it from bouncing around on it. If we could put the money, if there would be some way that we could put the money into an escrow to use for a new park somewhere when we need the park or maintain the current park, I would be okay with it. But I don't want the opportunity to dump the township with little squares of ground here and there, because I just know the way things are. We're gonna get little squares of ground here and there.
So Dave, it sounds like you're more in favor of the $1,000 fee in lieu than you are dedicating any piece of land.
I don't want the land unless the township, the entire board sits there and says, yeah, this is a good thing, and our engineer says this looks good, and our planner says this looks good, you know, if we need another baseball field, if we need another soccer field, if we need tennis courts, if we need basketball courts, whatever it is, I think they need to be put in a specific spot. Somebody comes out there, some farmer comes out and develops a piece of ground out, you know, where I live on the other end of the township, and he says, well, I'm not giving you $1,000. You know what you can do with it. And I'm taking off 3 lots for my kids. Here's a lot. Where's my equipment? That's what's going to happen, because the half acre that he gives is going to be a nothing thing. But then we'll all be sitting, you know, in court someday saying, well, our park's just as valid as your park. How comes your park has equipment?
Well, we don't have to do anything with that land. If we
No,
don't
no
want
one
to.
can force you to build a park, whether you own the land or not.
But I do understand what Dave is saying about just having little spots of, I mean, open land is open land. This is particularly saying parkland dedication. But one of the things that we've talked about many times is that definition of open, just open space, open land, not the open space preservation, but open land. So I kind of understand what Dave is saying. So again, I'm kind of asking you, Dave, you're more in favor of asking for money than asking for land.
But I believe Denise said we can't do that. Is that correct?
We can't require.
I know the ordinance or the law in Pennsylvania does not allow us to just say we want money for doing this.
Okay.
But, and I know those guys work hard on this stuff. I mean, that's, you know, I understand that. But, I think there's better things we could be doing with our time right now.
Well,
But,
and I think what the $1,000 is meant to do, which Denise has already said, is to make it the more attractive option. We can't require it, but if you had the choice, most developers are probably going to do the 1,000.
well, the other problem is that our ordinance doesn't allow for parcels under an acre in size, at least as far as I know. So now we're going to have to violate our own subdivision land development regulations to create subsized parcels that the township's going to have here and there.
How does that work, Denise?
So,
Do you know?
The parcel, it would be undeveloped land. The parcel can still be an acre. It just, that portion of it would be dedicated to the township. And there is a point to this where if a large developer came in, it might be more attractive for them to, if they have a 250 lot subdivision, it might be more attractive for them to put in a centralized park, for example. This is thinking down the road as well. So yes, there is a portion of what would be required, that small land portion, but it would still be an acre lot. It's just that portion would be to the township if somebody wanted to stick it to the township. And Patty made the point of, we don't have a requirement to develop any of this land into a parks. The fee in lieu of can actually go into a bank account. And that's what it's supposed to do. It has to go into an interest-bearing separate account. And then we have 3 years from the time that fee in lieu of has been provided to the township to do something with it. Now, my understanding of the law, and Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this or if I've misinterpreted it, but that has changed now where that money can be used for within a 5-mile radius, I think it is, whatever the nearby park is. So we can use it for equipment. If we, needed to do new equipment, we can now use it to pay loans for their land, but you can't use it to purchase new land. So there are plenty of ways that, we have, I believe, an additional $350,000 to pay on that.
Wait. Denise, did I hear you correctly that you cannot use the fee in lieu to purchase new land for a park?
I believe that you can't use that for new land purchase. Is that?
Mr. Stover, do you know?
I believe that's correct.
So you can pay the money for the loan of the park. So you could still do it after you've purchased it, then you can use it to pay the loan.
Yes. So the loan that we currently have, the law has changed that we can use that money for that now. But when they changed the law, you can't use that fee in lieu of for new, like the easements for the Open Space Preservation Board. We can't use it for the purchase of that.
Denise, it can be used to maintain current park features though, so that's another reason we were thinking about this. As parks need, as everything gets older, it's going to need to be rehabilitated and put things in. And I was very amazed to see how much swing sets and things like that cost. Looking that kind of stuff, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, like so we
It's
could use
because of
them.
the attorney.
I'm sorry, Dave, I didn't hear you.
I said that's because of the attorneys.
Okay.
I had a company that built stuff for a while. My insurance company said to me, he said, "You're not building anything for children, are you?" And I said, "No, why?" He says, "Because we won't insure you. That Playland or whatever, they have a terrible time covering their insurance costs. Because somebody's going to fall off of something and put a scratch in their bum, and then the lawsuits start flying, which is why you can't buy that stuff at a reasonable price, even though it's fairly simple to manufacture."
So we have a draft ordinance here. Do we want to make any kind of action or motion this evening? Do you want to think about this? Need to hear from the board.
I'm okay with making a motion and seeing where it
Go
goes.
ahead.
I move that we accept the draft ordinance as presented and accept the $1,000 fee in lieu of for subdivisions.
And if we do, you need permission to advertise, correct, Denise?
That's correct, because we still have to go through the public comment period and provide a hearing for the public. And I'd like to advertise that hearing for April 22nd.
Yeah, that's ultimately what we're voting on here, not whether or not this is going into effect. It's just to advertise for the hearing.
That's correct.
Denise, I'm sorry, Bob.
I was
Denise.
just gonna say, since there's a motion, I'll second.
So the motion is that we are providing permission to advertise the draft parkland dedication ordinance 2021-01. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Oh, sorry, Bob, you second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. Well, it got reread and,
Yeah,
just
sorry.
so we have all our
Ducks
T's
in a row.
crossed. Yeah.
Is there any discussion?
We should note that we did receive comment from the county planning and the CRPA. And the only comment we really received is that it should be reviewed from time to time, this ordinance.
Okay. Any other discussion before we vote?
I'll just say that I think it's a great idea. I think it would potentially help in raising money for our parks to help pay the debt and in the future provide for new equipment. And I think it's something that we should be doing. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving this to advertise, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I don't know. Chuck, did you vote either way? I don't think I heard you.
No, we're voting to advertise, right? Not
Yes.
to put it into effect.
Correct.
I'll vote to advertise.
Okay, thank you. So that was 4 yeas, 1 nay. Okay, motion approved to advertise. Thank you. That'll be good. I know our staff is doing a really good job of putting out there the agenda items, but once we have these public hearings, it's great to see if we can get some residents that might have comments too. So whenever it's time for that to come back, make sure we specifically call out that agenda item for the public hearing. Okay, thank you. Next up is setting the date for the movie night. There was a brief little survey sent out to, a portion of the residents. We're trying to do that where we can so we can get people's opinions. Go ahead, Denise.
Yes, last year, because of the COVID pandemic, we ended up pushing movie night into, I believe it was September. No, it was October.
October, it was cold.
Yes,
And
it was.
it happened to be a night that dropped down to like 31 degrees and the next day was 60. So we want to avoid that again this year. So we put it out to the public and asked what day they would prefer, because I know there's a lot of vacations that go on in July and August. And we didn't receive a lot of feedback, but the overwhelming response here was August 14th. So I wanted to see if we could set that date. And just say that we also want to use this as an opportunity to say that these will be coming to the public for more of these type questions and giving more opportunity for input. We don't have a movie picked out as of yet, but the 14th date works out great because we've asked the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for some help on those evenings, and they are able to help on both of them on the 14th.
Excellent.
Do we need a motion for this or?
I don't think we do. I think it was more just for informational and to provide the opportunity to share with the public.
Great.
Excellent.
So we'll do it on the 14th of August. Movie yet to be determined.
Lovely. All right. Next up, we have a discussion on continuing virtual meetings.
Yes. So Jeff, if you want to hop off at any point, you are more than welcome to. Thank you for being present today.
Mr. Stover, always nice seeing your face.
Why, thank you very much. I will see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks,
you.
Jeff. We have actually been on Zoom for quite some time. We went all virtual a couple months back. The governor's restrictions on gatherings will be changing at the beginning of April here. And we will then be able to hold 32 or 33 people in our building, in our community center. The question that I think we want to discuss, we had advertised that the meetings would be all virtual until the end of March, which is now. And we said we would reevaluate where we were in the pandemic as to whether or not to go back to in-person meetings, stay all virtual, or whatever the hybrid option is there. So it's up for discussion for the board.
Denise, has there been thought, I would think that going forward, there would always be that hybrid option, even when we do go back in. Is that, that's still for discussion? I mean, I just assumed going forward now, it would always be hybrid.
I think having the Zoom and the YouTube live, we might be able to switch at some point to just YouTube live. Matt, I don't know if you have input as to if what would be better, or if it's possible to continue along a hybrid, or if it's better to just stay in one capacity. I don't know what the need would be to have Zoom and YouTube.
But can you participate from YouTube? Like if a board member's on vacation, is it the same type of thing that you can still, or you're away? That's what I'm thinking of. If you're not
watching. Yeah, so we need the participation along with it. Sorry, Matt, you unmuted for a second. Go ahead if you have a comment. Thank you.
Matt, I'm sorry, Matt, let me ask you this. If it was a case where, let's say we go weeks or months without needing the Zoom feature, and then suddenly we have a situation where someone's going to be away, but they want to use that feature, would you need advance notice or? Yeah. We can't use it as I can't make it to the meeting tonight, I'm just going to join via the Zoom.
Well, can you do it kind of the other way, Bob? Like, we're always planning that it's there, but if nobody's on Zoom, we just shut it off.
Yeah, I guess there's that too.
Like after 5 or 10 minutes, after the meeting starts, if nobody's there.
Yep.
Okay.
So really, whatever we decide, we should provide. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, as far as I know, and this goes way back, if a supervisor can't come to the meeting, they can always call into the meeting and participate over the telephone or cell phone in this case.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and if I don't know what the Zoom thing is, or, how it's set up exactly, but, even if we couldn't do Zoom, if like Patty was away, she can call in on the phone and participate. We have the ability, even over our phones, to do face-to-face communication. So somebody could set their cell phone up, so at least the chairperson could see what they're doing if they wanted to be recognized or whatever. So I don't see it as an issue. I really would like to go back to face. One, I think we're not doing our citizens a great favor at this point. Just about everybody that I know of that's over the age of 65 is all vaccinated anyways, and probably most of the rest of us will be here in a few months, I would think. So, and if I can go sit in a restaurant with, 100 other people I don't know spaced out at every other table, I think we can handle our township meetings. I don't really expect to see more than a dozen people there anyways.
I echo, Virginia wrote a comment in the chat, and I kind of echo this as well. I really like the mixed option. I think we do get, I miss everybody face to face as well. So, seeing people live, I'm looking forward to, but I also think it's very convenient for somebody to just pop into Zoom and be able to participate very easily without having to get up out of their house. This is what I say, put big girl pants on and go to a building. So I would be in favor of the mixed option.
Yeah, Danelle, I'm sorry. I agree with you completely. I wasn't even thinking earlier when I was speaking about what I was saying that we pop in. I was making staff and the supervisors. So I sometimes forget that this avenue gives the citizens a way to join the meeting without having to come down. And I mean, we have to remember that some of the folks who live in Halfmoon Township have certain challenges and disabilities, and they might not be able to come to an in-person meeting, but they could join this way. So I completely agree. We need to have this as an option.
And even when we have special people come on, just like, we had Jamie there just for a few minutes.
Yeah, sure.
And and Corey or even Jeff Stover, if we just need them for really specific things on the agenda, it's much more efficient that they can just zoom in for that, what's on the agenda, and then go.
Yep.
Saves money, Dave, saves solicitor money.
It does.
And it's good for the environment. People aren't driving their cars.
Driving.
I'm
So
not
I think, and
advocating
it doesn't
not going
cost
to
us
the,
anything.
I'm not advocating not keeping the Zoom meeting option. I'm just saying I think we ought to have our regular meetings in the township building.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, and keep the Zoom. I got no problem with that. If somebody wants to call in, I got no problem with that, or send an email. So, whatever everybody wants to do, but I think we ought to be back in the meeting room.
One of the things I think we do need to also just make sure we follow whatever the state guidelines are for COVID guidelines for safety.
Yes.
So whatever they are in April, if it means that we wear masks in the building, then anybody in the building must wear a mask. And that includes all of the supervisors as well.
You're saying if that's the state guideline at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's what we would need to do, is follow
I
whatever
agree.
the state guidelines are.
And if you haven't been vaccinated already, find a vaccine.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we advertise that beginning in April, we will have a mix of virtual and in-person available for the Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisor meetings from here till whenever the state makes any other changes, or if the state makes any other changes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there discussion? Nope, no discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Okay, that was it. Good. Sorry, Denise and Matt from CNET, more work for you guys. But
It'll be good
I
to see
think
everyone's
that'll be-
faces.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see people's faces, and if you can't make it in one evening, then stay at home and Zoom in. Okay, great. Thank you for that discussion. Let me pull up my agenda again. Here we are. Okay. I don't see Sharon here. Are we having the School Library update tonight? Oh, Virginia, are you doing it?
No, I'm not. I just thought I'd let you know Sharon's mother passed away in California.
Oh.
And so she is in California dealing with that. So that's probably, I know that's why she's not here tonight.
Thank you for letting us know. Okay, well, we can definitely postpone that to another.
Absolutely.
Fine. And one thing, actually, Denise, if you could ask, I pulled up the circulation, and I think one of the things that, Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, you did in the past, is that we had Halfmoon Township specific information as well. So what I'm seeing there, I think, is all circulation, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know that for sure. It doesn't say anything about just Halfmoon Township. So whenever she does present, if there is a subset that is just our township, or if this is it, I can't tell from the data.
Okay.
Just to clarify what that is. Okay. And we have the possible appointment of a planning commission member, George Stein, term to expire in 2024. So this is another full-time member of the planning commission. Is that correct?
Yes. Lauren, do you want to talk about
So
Mr.
I can
Stein?
jump in on this.
Thank you.
We interviewed Mr. Stein at our last PC meeting, and originally his letter noted that he was interested in being an alternate, but he wasn't aware that there was a full seat available at the time. And after a short discussion, he decided that he would prefer to be on a full seated position with the PC. He's got a lot of background in engineering, lot designs, planning designs. So I think he'd be a real good fit for the commission right now.
Good.
Lovely.
I guess we took a motion up on it to recommend him for a position with the PC.
Perfect. So now we would need a motion to get the discussion started for this.
I'll motion that we follow the lead of the planning commission and appoint, what's his name? George Stein as a full member of the planning commission, voting member, for the term to expire on 12/31/2024.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion about Mr. Stein? All right, let's vote him in. All those in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. All right, congrats. And I guess Denise and/or Lauren will let him know.
I have a general email that I send that gives information regarding the comp plan and everything to get them started.
Perfect. Great. So that means we now have a full board, full planning commission?
Yes.
Fantastic. Go to it. All right. I think that's it for new business. Is that correct? Did I get everything?
Yes.
Got everything. All right. Department reports. I think Brett provided us the financial reports. Do any other questions about the treasurer reports from anyone or anything of note, Denise, that we need to be aware of?
No, that we did, when you approved your checks, you should note that the fire tax fund was created, and that was the first time that first quarter distribution went out to the fire companies from them.
Yep. And would we expect to see that account now in the treasurer's report, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I got that. Okay. Tax collector's report. Anything of note, or does anyone have any questions about the tax collector's report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Public Works report. Anything of note, or does anyone have any questions?
I will say that we opened the tennis courts today.
I saw the email.
So, yep, those are back open, and street sweeping will occur the second week in April.
Okay.
So plan on getting your motorcycles out after
I
that.
was just going to say that means get the motorcycle going. Okay, manager's report. Do you have anything specific for us, Denise?
Just that I had signed a engagement letter and agreement with McCormick Taylor. That is our alternate engineer. After appointing them to the board, I reached out to them and congratulated them to their alternate engineer appointment. And they said that they didn't know that they had been appointed year after year, and asked that we sign an engagement letter with them. So if they are required to do anything or need our services, we can just get rolling and not have to go through the paperwork associated with that.
Very nice.
Good.
Additionally, there is PennDOT right now is doing a survey regarding their 12-year transportation program. It's called a TYP. It's updated every 2 years, and basically it's funding transportation projects, and they want some public participation and comments. So there is a survey, and I will put this in the chat really quick that you can take. They encourage it from anybody. It can be residents, it can be board members, but it will be available until April 14th. And let me add that to the chat.
Okay. While you're doing that, is that all? That's all for the report?
Then the only other thing is we've opened up back to the public at a part-time basis just to see how things go and how the public responds. We are open Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 11:30 and then 1:30 to 3:30. We wanted to try to limit how many people were coming in. We had a lot of requests for notary services, for example. We're encouraging people to fill out everything online that they can or make appointments. That way we're minimizing the amount of time that people are physically in the building. And again, we ask that people stay masked. I anticipate with the changes coming with the governor, we'll probably open up full time very soon.
Any questions for Denise? Anyone on her report? Okay, seeing none, the last report is the budget report. Does anyone have any questions, or is there anything of note? Nope. Okay, moving along. The last section of the meeting this evening is supervisor reports. Bob, executive committee for general forum.
Well, since we just had the general forum meeting on Monday night, there's not a whole lot to discuss as far as the COG committees that I belong to. I will jump down to the Bald Eagle COG meeting though. The Port Matilda Fire Department has begun construction on their new storage building. It's 28 by 36. It's going where the old stage, the festival stage, used to stand. The building's going to house some of their smaller vehicles, and it's also going to have a new stage adjacent to it. So if you attend the Summer Kickoff Fest, which is on June 17th to 19th, hopefully it will be done by then. If you already have not returned your Port Matilda Fire Department membership donation, you should have received in the mail sometime in the past month or so. Please do so at your earliest convenience. The brush truck, unfortunately, is still delayed until June. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Okay, the finance committee, Patty, or whatever other committees and facilities. Go ahead.
Facilities did not hold a meeting the last time, and finance was, the main topic of finance was the Whitehall Regional Park, and has been, in the refinancing of the loans, and that was discussed to the nth degree at Monday night's meeting. So no further update.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'll just add, every committee meeting I've been in the last 2 months that has dominated the conversation. And so for us out here in Halfmoon Township, the non-participating municipality, it's a long lot of listening, but unfortunately we have to do it. So.
And my reports, and actually I'll probably help you change this, Denise, on the agenda, because transportation and land use and public services environmental are now one committee. Still trying to come up with a name. So we did have a meeting, and wait, which one is this? That's climate action. Hold on. So we're really still just kind of reorganizing this. We did have a meeting at the beginning of the month, and it was a follow-up to confirm how we wanted to move forward. We all agreed that we're just going to have the one representative per township, and I will be the representative. What we did was kind of look over our draft responsibilities, just trying to get a sense of what types of topics would come through this committee now that they're joined, because it's public services and land use. There's a lot of infrastructure pieces that kind of overlap and fit together. Jim May did a nice job of providing an overview of what could come to us in this committee. And our first sort of official meeting will be in April, and we're going to have a couple different presentations. one from the State College Borough Water Authority, one from UAJA, one from the CCMPO, which is the Center Region Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the Center Region Planning Agency. So we're basically just going to kind of get an update from all of those groups of like their current major projects. And it's a lot of, not data gathering, but data absorbing. So what's happening? We're trying to absorb all of these pieces to see how they're going to kind of fit together and what types of things would come through this committee. Not like as a, it's more of in a planning effort and just understanding what is happening around us so that we in the center region and our municipalities are planning appropriately as well. So if things are fitting together. So that is that meeting. What else? The Climate Action and Sustainability Committee, which I am on, now also includes one of our own Halfmoon Township members, Jason Little, who is the State College Area School District, I think he's a project manager, if I'm not mistaken. So that committee is also still in the works. It's brand new. So we've only had sort of 3 meetings now. The focuses there are somewhat around the climate action efforts that are taking place, the community, what's it called? Oh, Denise just mentioned at the beginning of the agenda here. Hold on. There's going to be a community forum or a community forum. If you go to centersustains.com, you will find out information about this. And it's really an outreach effort and to get folks more up to speed with what's happening in Pennsylvania around reducing greenhouse gas, sustainability, climate action, how climate is affecting us in the center region and what we might be able to do about it to reduce negative impacts to residents in the center region. So that's where we are with those committees. I don't think, and I think Corey has been our representative on some of these others. Is there anything of note from CCMPO, Spring Creek Watershed? What else are you helping us with?
The State College Borough Water Authority.
Yes.
I can just mention that during the Spring Creek Watershed Commission meeting that the College Township representative said they are going to be coming out and doing presentations to each of the municipalities to kind of refresh everybody as to why they're involved and what their game plan is. So I think Denise, he said he'd be reaching out to one of the board meetings in April. Is that correct?
April 22nd.
Okay. As for the State College Borough Water Authority, they gave a pretty interesting sampling update. I guess the state has required 53 streams and surface bodies of water to be sampled for microplastics, and all 53 have microplastics. So that would be like when you have the face washing soap with the little beads, the micro beads. So I know as a resident of the Altoona Water Authority that they're sampling it in ours, but luckily within the center region, all of our water, or the majority of our water, comes from if they're underground wells. So they're going to start a sampling protocol, but they don't believe that any of their water will be affected by that. So
interesting. Okay.
You know, I heard a news story today on the radio, as a matter of fact, that was addressing that exact thing with the microplastics in drinking water.
Mhm.
And there are some communities in America where they estimate that some of the residents are potentially intaking up to a pound of water or pound of plastic a month that way.
Mhm.
Wow.
So, wow. Yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, we're very lucky to be at the top of the watershed.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other committee reports that I'm missing, that we are missing? Everybody good? The good and welfare, I was going to say this with my report. I did have one thing that I wanted to mention. I talked to Denise about this the other day, and we've been asking, I don't know how many of our residents actually sit and watch the YouTube channel. I go and look and see the views, and we try and solicit email addresses from everyone. And we want to be as transparent as possible and communicate proactively as much as possible to residents. I was a little surprised to hear the number of people that we have in our email list right now. And I think what I talked to Denise about was doing a little bit more to get those email addresses so that we have a method to be able to communicate easily. We have budgeted for 2 mass mailing, physical postal mailings a year. And what I've asked Denise to do is start putting together some items that would go in that first mass mailing. And the largest act that we would want from residents is please give us your email address. You're missing pertinent information if you do not provide us your email address. So I would love to do a mass mailing to get that out in front of people's face so that we can get their email address so that they can get on our email list. We do have, you know, the Facebook thing. Not everybody's on Facebook. I don't want that to be our primary communication path. So if we can send an email and point people to our website, everybody who has internet access should be able to get there. They don't need a Facebook account to get our information. So just wanted to let you know that I talked to Denise about putting together some items for our first mailing, and that would be the #1 thing.
Now, one of the options we have, I talked to staff about this afternoon, and we can, I suggested we do a almost newsletter format. One of the things that Brett actually suggested was if email solicitation, if we just want to start with that, we can reduce some of that mailing cost by just doing a postcard for email solicitation.
That's what I was thinking of, a postcard. And, you know, if you did a newsletter, well, we wanted to go postal. I was just going to say you could put the link to the website, but then if somebody doesn't have internet access or doesn't want to go to the website, I was thinking of an electronic newsletter.
We did it in the past.
Yep.
And I love the idea of reviving that after we get some emails.
I'm fine with that. My primary goal was to put something out there to tell people that we want to reach them. We need their help in order to do that. If anybody has any other ideas, let Denise know, but just a postcard. Yeah, Virginia, go ahead.
I was wondering about putting together, and I would volunteer to put together a group of citizens who could go around and put, Lauren says we can't put things in mailboxes,
Correct.
but put doorknob hanging things, you know, or we could have little cards and just hand them out, you know, knock and then put them through mail slots or hand them to people or hang them from door knobs.
You know, Virginia, I think you can even do that on mailbox flags. You just can't put mail in.
So, I mean, because if I were able to put together a group of like 10 people, Denise, you and I could talk about this to try and figure out how to break it up into neighborhoods. But with the weather getting nicer, I'd love to take that walk.
Add me to the volunteer list.
Yeah, sure. I could do my neighborhood. I have a lot of things. Walk the dog out there every day. So I might as well hang some things on the mailboxes.
And that might save us some money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great idea.
Sure. Okay.
Love it.
Thank you very much. I think that was it. So I kind of put that under my report, good and welfare. Anyone have anything else for the good and welfare? The weather is getting beautiful. Get out to our parks. They're fabulous.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of dogs, I've been meaning to say this. For anyone who's viewing, with the weather getting nicer, people are outside, they're walking their dogs. Please pick up after your dogs in public spaces. It's not just a nuisance when you step in dog poo. Dog feces carry a number of parasites and things that can be spread that way. If another dog comes along and somehow ingests any of that, that's how they end up with parasites. So please pick up after your dogs.
Thank you, Bob. Anything else for the good and welfare? Seeing nothing else, our next regularly scheduled meeting is going to be on Thursday, April 8th, if we have enough agenda items for that, at 7 p.m. So seeing no other business. Oh, Denise, go ahead.
We need to go to the executive session. So, and then come back for action. So I'm going to put the people in a waiting room. I think I can do that. And then we'll come right back to that. So,
And if anybody wants to just leave, they can obviously leave, but officially we have to come back to the meeting.
yes,
Thank you for reminding me about the executive session. I almost forgot about it.
no problem. Let me figure this out here. Ah, got it.
So we will take a brief break for our executive session and be back.
Hey, stop and think about this. The last manager didn't live in the township, right?
Yes.
Nope.
Okay,
Well,
so
they
we
can
have
explain
Corey,
that.
everybody. Oops, I'm sorry, everybody's back. CNET's back as well. Okay, so we had just finished our executive session and we are now back to our regular Board of Supervisor meeting. We did have discussion around the ordinance that we have that requires the township manager to live within Halfmoon Township. So one of the things that we are going to do, I'm going to make a motion that we are granting an exception to that ordinance so that Denise can find suitable housing that is affordable for her. Unfortunately, in Halfmoon Township, there aren't as many available affordable houses that she can take advantage of. So thereby has to look outside of our area. And the Board of Supervisors have agreed to grant that waiver, that exception, so that Denise can find housing within the means of the township manager. So that is the motion.
Can we add for a grant a waiver for 1 year?
Yep. So the exception will be for 1 year, and in that time frame, we will look at that ordinance to see if we want to edit it a little bit to make it a little bit easier for whoever is the township manager. Because right now it states specifically has to live in Halfmoon Township.
No, that's not true.
Oh, I'm lying. Sorry.
It's you have to live within Halfmoon Township or one of the COG participating municipalities or one of the municipalities that borders Halfmoon Township's borders.
Okay.
I'll just add real quickly that I currently live in Patton Township. It takes me about 20 minutes to drive to the office. The place that I'm looking at will be in Bellefonte, and it will be a 20-minute drive to the office. But Bellefonte is not allowed as per the manager's ordinance as written.
Thank you for clarifying. So again, the motion is that the Board of Supervisors approves the exception for 1 year for the township manager to live outside of Halfmoon Township and the other regions stated in the ordinance. You're muted, Bob.
I'll second that.
Oh, Dave seconded. Is there?
Yeah, I was trying to do, but
That's okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Beautiful. Good
Thank
luck,
you.
Denise.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any more items for us to discuss this evening?
Let's go home.
Yep. So seeing none, our next regularly scheduled meeting is Thursday, April 8th at 7 p.m. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night.
folks.
8:40 p.m.